The man was arguing with a docking terminal that insisted his dragon counted as hazardous cargo, which, in his opinion, was both offensive and technically accurate. He tapped the flickering screen again, as if confidence alone might convince it to change its mind. The dragon, sprawled behind him and taking up most of the landing platform, exhaled a slow curl of heat that made the warning lights glow brighter. "I told you," the man muttered. "You should have folded your wings. You look bigger when you're relaxed. It's intimidating." The dragon blinked one luminous eye, unimpressed, then shifted just enough to knock over a stack of fuel canisters. They clattered loudly, echoing through the empty port. "Great," the man sighed. "Now we're dramatic." The port itself hung at the edge of a forgotten trade route, its artificial gravity humming inconsistently, like it wasn't fully committed to the idea of keeping things grounded. Most ships avoided it. Unfortunately, most creditors did not. The terminal beeped again, now displaying a polite but firm refusal. The man leaned closer. "Listen, we're not cargo, we're independent contractors." The dragon huffed. "Unregistered independent contractors," he corrected. Before the terminal could reject him again, something behind him shifted, not moved exactly, but changed its mind about where it was supposed to be. The man turned slowly, already tired of whatever new problem the universe had prepared. She stood near the far end of the platform, where there had been nothing a moment before. A woman, at first glance entirely human, except for the long, elegant ears that framed her face and caught the dim station light like polished metal. She was watching the dragon with quiet curiosity, as if comparing it to a memory. The man blinked. "Okay," he said carefully. "Either you've been standing there the whole time and I've lost all situational awareness, or you just appeared out of nowhere, which is honestly worse for my schedule." She tilted her head slightly, as if considering the options. "Does it matter?" "It usually does," he said. "I like to know which laws of reality I'm accidentally violating." The dragon rose, scales shifting with a low, resonant sound. It leaned forward, nostrils flaring as it examined her. The man held his breath, partly out of concern, partly because the dragon's breath tended to set things on fire. A small spark flickered from its mouth, more a reflex than a threat, but before it could become anything dangerous, it simply wasn't there anymore. The man stared at the empty air where the flame should have been. "You saw that, right?" he asked, glancing at the dragon. "That was a flame. We had a flame. I was emotionally prepared for a flame." The dragon made a low, uncertain sound. The woman stepped closer, her expression calm. "It didn't need to happen," she said. "That's not how things work," the man replied. She looked at him then, properly, as if focusing on him for the first time. Something in her gaze shifted, not colder, not warmer, just more precise. "It is one way they can work." He opened his mouth, then closed it again. "I'm going to assume you're the reason my day is about to get worse." "Your day was already unstable," she said. "That's fair," he admitted, "but I like to blame specific causes." A distant vibration ran through the station, subtle but unmistakable. The man frowned, turning toward the open void beyond the platform. At first, there was nothing, just the quiet scatter of distant stars. Then the stars began to disappear. Not all at once, not dramatically, but in careful, deliberate patterns, as if something vast was arranging itself between them and the light. The man exhaled slowly. "Please tell me," he said, "that you didn't bring an army with you." She followed his gaze, her expression unchanged. "They were already coming." "Of course they were," he muttered. "Why wouldn't they be?" The dragon let out a low growl, its wings shifting, ready to spite everything. The man glanced between the approaching darkness and the woman who could erase flames like inconveniences. He rubbed his face. "All right," he said. "New plan. I don't know what you did, or what you are, but if those ships are here for you, then I have made a series of very poor life choices." She studied him for a moment. "You can leave." He looked at the dragon, then back at her. The approaching fleet darkened the stars further, turning the sky into something heavy and inevitable. He sighed. "Yes," he said. "That does sound like something a smarter person would do." He did not leave. He considered it carefully, even took a step toward his ship. Then stopped when the dragon nudged him in the back with enough force to suggest that abandoning the situation would be interpreted as a personal betrayal. He glanced over his shoulder. "You could have let me go," he said. The dragon exhaled a thin stream of heat that singed the edge of his coat. "Right," he muttered. "Team decision." Above them, the darkness finished arranging itself into something structured. Ships, hundreds, maybe more, slid into visible formation, their hulls reflecting starlight in rigid, geometric patterns. No flashing signals, no warnings, just quiet precision, which somehow felt worse. The man squinted upward. I miss the days when enemies at least shouted before invading. They don't need to, the woman said. He looked at her. That's comforting, deeply, profoundly comforting. A low hum spread through the station, and suddenly the artificial gravity stabilized, as if something had forced it into obedience. The man lifted one foot experimentally. Well, he said, that's new. Usually this place can't decide which way is down. They're anchoring it, she replied. Anchoring what? Everything. He paused. That seems excessive. The first ship detached from the formation, descending without sound. Its surface shifted as it moved, panels sliding in patterns that hurt to follow for too long. The dragon lowered its head, muscles tensing. Okay, the man said, clapping his hands once. We can still salvage this. We talk to them. We explain there's been a misunderstanding. You apologize for whatever reality-related inconvenience you've caused, and I offer them a discount on dragon rides. People love that. No, she said gently. Counteroffer, he asked. The ship stopped above the platform. A beam of pale light extended downward, not illuminating so much as defining a space where things had to make sense. The air felt heavier inside it. The man stepped back instinctively. I don't like that light, he said. It feels judgmental. A voice followed, not loud, but impossible to ignore. You are in violation of structural continuity. Surrender the anomaly. The man looked around. I'm going to assume they mean you. She didn't answer. He raised a hand toward the ship. In our defense, we didn't know we were violating anything. We barely follow local parking regulations. Clarification, the voice continued. The anomaly is destabilizing probability fields across multiple sectors. Compliance is required. The man frowned. That sounds expensive. The dragon growled, stepping forward into the edge of the light. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the light flickered, as if uncertain how to categorize what it was touching. Oh, that's interesting, the man said. It doesn't like you either. The dragon, encouraged by this, took another step and promptly vanished. The man blinked. No, he said. Absolutely not. That's my dragon. I need that. The woman moved slightly, not hurried, not tense, just decisive. The space where the dragon had been shifted, like a memory correcting itself, and suddenly it was back, mid-step, looking just as confused as the man felt. Thank you, he said quickly. I don't know what you did, but I appreciate it and will probably regret it later. They are trying to isolate variables, she said. I am not a variable, he protested. I am a person with very consistent poor decisions. The voice returned, sharper now. Interference detected, escalating containment. The ships above adjusted, their formation tightening. The man felt a strange pressure in his head, like too many possibilities being forced into one. Okay, he said, rubbing his temples. I officially dislike them. The woman stepped forward into the beam of light. It bent around her, not breaking, but refusing to settle. You shouldn't do that, the man said. They won't stop, she replied. They definitely won't stop if you walk directly into their very ominous light. She glanced back at him, and for a moment, something softer passed through her expression. You can still leave. He hesitated again, longer this time. The ships loomed, the pressure building, the dragon shifting restlessly beside him. Then he sighed. I feel like this is one of those moments where I make a terrible choice that defines the rest of my life. The dragon huffed in agreement. He stepped forward into the edge of the light, wincing slightly. Fine, he said, but if reality breaks, I'm blaming you. The light tightened around them, the ships above responding instantly. And somewhere in the vast structure of the fleet, something recalculated and decided they were now all part of the same problem. The light tightened until it felt like the universe had decided on a single version of events and was unwilling to negotiate. The man stood very still, mostly because moving suddenly felt like something that required permission. All right, he said carefully, this is officially the worst lighting I've ever been in. The dragon pressed close behind him, a low rumble building in its chest. The sound vibrated through the beam, and for a moment, the rigid edges of it faltered. Containment failing, the voice above noted, calm and unimpressed. Reinforcing. The pressure increased. The man winced. Do they ever get tired of being correct all the time? They don't think in those terms, the woman said. Of course they don't. That would require personality. The ships shifted again, and this time the space around them didn't just feel heavy, it felt decided. Every possible movement narrowed into fewer and fewer options, like a corridor closing in. The man exhaled slowly. So this is it then? They pin us down, take you away, and I go back to arguing with machines about parking violations. If you leave, she said, they will let you. He laughed once, short and disbelieving. That's the problem, I don't think I want them to. The dragon nudged his shoulder, not gently, but with a kind of certainty that settled something in him. He straightened slightly, glancing at the ships above, then at her. You said you see different outcomes, he said. How many of them end with us getting out of this? She didn't answer immediately. That bad, huh? He added. There are variations, she said. Most collapse. Good, he said. I've always preferred long odds. Feels more dramatic. He stepped forward again, fully into the light this time. It reacted instantly, tightening, trying to fix him in place. He grimaced but kept moving, one step at a time. Hey, he called upward. You want the anomaly, you've got the wrong target. The voice responded without hesitation. Clarify. He gestured vaguely at himself. It's me, I'm the problem. I make terrible decisions, I associate with questionable entities, and I once tried to outrun a gravity well. This, he waved toward the woman, this is just coincidence. There was a pause, not of confusion, but of calculation. Statement inconsistent, the voice said. Most of mine are, he admitted. Behind him, the woman moved not to stop him but to stand beside him. The light bent again, less stable now, its edges trembling. You shouldn't do this, she said quietly. Probably not, he agreed. But I'm starting to think probably not is where all the important decisions are. The dragon stepped forward as well, placing itself between them and the descending ship. Its wings spread slightly, catching the distorted light. The man took a breath. If you're going to do something reality-breaking, he said to her, now would be a fantastic time. She looked at him, really looked this time, as if measuring something deeper than probability. Every change removes others, she said. There will be losses. He nodded, then pick the one where you don't disappear. That outcome is unstable. So am I, he said. We'll match. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the light fractured, not shattered, not destroyed, but reconsidered. The pressure eased, then shifted, as if the universe had been given a second option and wasn't sure which one to keep. The ships reacted instantly, their formation breaking slightly for the first time. Deviation detected, the voice said, reasserting control. Too late, the man muttered. The woman closed her eyes. Space folded, not dramatically, not violently, but gently, like a page being turned. The beam unraveled into strands of possibility, the ships flickering as their positions lost certainty. The dragon roared, not in anger, but in something closer to triumph. When it settled, the sky was different. The ships were still there, but distant now, their formation incomplete, their presence no longer absolute. The pressure was gone. The man blinked, looking around. Okay, he said slowly. I think we just survived something important. The dragon lowered its wings, satisfied. He turned to her. You're still here, he said, almost surprised. I chose this version, she replied. Good choice, he said. I'm biased, but still. Above them, the ships held position, no longer advancing. Will they come back? He asked. Yes, she said, but not like this. He nodded, considering that, then he sighed. All right, new plan, we leave before they come up with a better one. He started toward his ship, then stopped, glancing back at her. You're coming, right? She studied him for a moment, then nodded once. The dragon moved ahead of them, already claiming the path. As they boarded, the man paused at the entrance, looking out at the altered sky. For once, he didn't feel like he was reacting to events. For once, it felt like he had chosen something. He smiled faintly. Still not paying those debts, he said. The dragon huffed approvingly. The ship lifted off, carrying them into a future that was no longer fixed, only possible. The ship drifted in silence for a while, as if even its engines were unsure whether reality would hold long enough to justify making noise. The man sat in the pilot's chair, hands resting on controls he wasn't entirely convinced still followed the same rules as before. Well, he said eventually, that was unpleasant. Educational, but unpleasant. The dragon curled behind him, tail flicking once, a small spark slipping free and vanishing before it could touch anything. Please don't start doing that casually, he added. We just fixed existence. Let's not test the warranty. The woman stood near the viewport, watching the stars. They no longer felt distant in the same way. They felt negotiable. They're not following, the man said. Not yet, she replied. He leaned back, studying her reflection in the glass. You could have left, he said. Back there, picked a version where you weren't being hunted. I did, she said. He blinked. That's concerning. It didn't include you. He paused, then nodded slowly. Right, bad timeline. The dragon made a low, approving sound. He turned back to the controls, tapping a few commands. The ship responded, slightly delayed but obedient. Okay, he said. Systems are functional, reality is mostly cooperative, and I am still in debt across 3 sectors. So some things remain constant. That bothers you? She asked. It reassures me, he said. If everything changed, I'd have nothing to complain about, and that's a dangerous situation. She almost smiled. The ship entered a thin corridor of warped space, where light stretched and bent like it wasn't entirely committed to being straight. He guided them through carefully. You said every change removes others, he said. What did we lose? She was quiet for a moment. Certainty, she said. There was a version where everything was stable, controlled, predictable. He considered that. Sounds boring. It was safe. He shrugged. Safe doesn't usually involve armies trying to erase you. That was part of the stability. He glanced at her. Then I'm glad we broke it. The dragon shifted, resting its head near his shoulder. He absently placed a hand against its scales, grounding himself in something solid. I used to think survival was enough, he said after a while. Get out of trouble, move on, repeat. But that back there, he exhaled. That wasn't just survival. No, she said. He smiled faintly. Don't get me wrong, I still prefer surviving. Big fan of that. But choosing it, choosing something, even when it's worse on paper, that feels different. She stepped closer, her presence no longer something that bent the world, but something that belonged in it. You changed the outcome, she said. I made a suggestion, he replied. You did the impossible part. You made it matter. He didn't have a joke ready for that, which surprised him. The ship exited the warped corridor into open space. No fleets, no pressure, just stars uncertain but real enough. A signal blinked on the console. The man groaned. If that's a creditor, I'm turning us around and facing the army again. He opened it cautiously. The message was brief, encoded in a pattern he didn't recognize. He glanced at her. They're watching, she said. Of course they are, he muttered. Can't just lose quietly. The message shifted, adapting, translating itself. Observation continues. Variables uncontained. Outcome pending. The man leaned back. I don't like being called a variable. You are one, she said. He smiled. Then I'll be a difficult one. The dragon huffed, clearly approving. He closed the message and powered it down. Let them watch, he said. We'll give them something confusing. He set a new course, not toward safety, not toward any place that made immediate sense, but forward. Where are we going? She asked. He shrugged. Somewhere that hasn't decided what it is yet. She considered that, then nodded. The ship accelerated, cutting through a universe no longer fixed in place. For once, he wasn't running from something. He was choosing where to go. And that, he realized, was far more dangerous.